All right. Well, hello, folks. My name is Monica, and I'm from geeks.gogo.com, and I'm here again today to do another live session while I make cosplay. I am so excited about today's stream because I'm actually going to be doing like a few stuff that I don't normally stream, and that's making armor. And if you're familiar with making armor, it's very messy, it's very noisy. Um, there's a lot that happens when you're doing armor. So I'm gonna do my best today to keep it lively, I guess, and interesting. Because yeah, the sanding part and heating part and all of this other stuff is just so much to deal with, and definitely yeah, it takes a lot of patience. So I hope you learned something today. I will cover a lot of basics on the different techniques that I use when I'm making armor out of foam, what types of materials that I use, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm gonna try a few things different this time around. I think I'm gonna do um, some fabric, some feathers, most definitely. And I'm going to try as much as possible to, um, for the short amount of time, because I'm only doing this for like an hour. For the short amount of time, I'm going to try to cover as much as possible. So I did a little bit of pre work because I want to cover as much as possible today. Here's believe it's a 2 millimeter foam. I use this type of foam for making details for my armor. And then there's like, I believe this is a 5 millimeter foam, HD foam. I got this from Blick Arts art store or art like website. And I'm gonna play around with some foam clay right here. Um, This one's from Lumen's Workshop. I honestly don't know how old this is. I've had this in forever. And today I'm actually going to be showing you these patterns that I use that I actually downloaded from Kamui Cosplay. These are very cheap patterns to download. They were only like, I believe when she had a sale, they were only like $3-4 for the patterns. But it's a complete set of shoulder armor patterns, and then there's like leg armor patterns. So this one over here, this bigger one, is for covering the thigh area. This one's for the knee area. Let me try to show that in camera here. This is kind of positioned funny. So yeah, this one's to cover the knee. This one's to cover the thigh. And I've got thunder thighs, so we're going to cover that. And then this one's for the shoulder. Now, I was playing around with the idea of basically having feathers for the shoulder armor. But I don't know. I'm not completely sold with this concept just yet. I did do a few sketches, which I did post on my Instagram stories, just so that you can get an idea of what it can look like or what it may look like. So I masking taped everything down for now because I don't want it to be a permanent thing. Plus, this is my mock-up. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not wasting foam, first off, and second, I can always like resize this pattern to what fits me better and what I want the aesthetic to be. Right behind me here, I know the screen's really tiny. I have my dress form, my handy dandy dress form over here, and the wig. I started working on the wig yesterday, and I basically use a crimping iron to get rid of the fibers so it's not so shiny. And then I'm going to complete styling the wig later on. So I know this part is very uneventful. I'm pretty much just removing feathers right now and putting these feathers aside because I'm going to use that for later. But if there's one thing that I'm really fast about making or working on, it is pretty much making armor. I absolutely love making armor. Armor making, I was encouraged by my buddy Chris English, who is also known as Papa Bear Cosplay. Absolutely amazing cosplayer and friend of mine. And he is just so helpful. He's so knowledgeable about a lot of like cosplay stuff. And, like he really inspired me to start creating stuff from armor. A little story about that. When I started making armor, he actually had a cosplay group in mind for C2E2, and it was called, for Gears of War. So it was a whole group that's all Gears of War characters, and the armor looks cool for like the heroes of the game. Admittedly, I've never played the game, okay? And that's because we don't have a console, but whatever. But at the same time, it's like, um I do love the character designs of all of the characters in there. But one character caught my eye and it was the villain. So Queen Mira was my first intense armor build. And it was intense. Back then, I didn't have a Cricut machine, so everything was done by hand. I might do some of that techniques today because my Cricut is upstairs, and I do miss carving stuff by hand. Because I can control it. I can sketch what I want on the armor, and it's easy for me to kind of just create stuff. I don't know. To each his own, right? Like whatever works for you, basically, is what's important. So like I there was like a lot of detailing on that cosplay, and it was mostly um there's a lot of crisscross squares, and a lot of people actually thought that um I use a Cricut machine or something like that, or a laser cutter, in order to create this armor piece. And I actually did everything by hand. Oh, hi. If you're joining, hi. My name is Monica. I'm from Geeks Gogo. I am creating armor today. I am just going to do, since I'm a one woman show, I'm going to just post this real quick um, on Facebook to let people know that I am live. I am making an armor today for Raven from Teen Titans. And this is inspired by one of the episodes that they had. So I'm trying to remember the title of the show or the episode. It's something shine bright. I forgot, but it's the one where she has her like her outfit is actually pink and purple. And this one I'm gonna keep it dark, just like her original color scheme. Um, but what I'm getting or inspired to create out of that design is the top of her hood, which has the raven skull. I'm gonna make that today too, and that's where the foam clay will come into mind, is when I do that portion. So, all right, I'm glad I got all of this masking tape and foam out. I mean, feathers out. So this is a shoulder pattern that I had downloaded from Kamui Cosplay. I already went ahead and instead of gluing them together, I taped them together just to kind of like see the size of this thing. So this shorter area is closer to my neck area. So this is what it looks like. And I know it's kind of like hard to see, but you can kind of get the idea here. But yeah, I like making mock-ups out of cardboard before I start making the actual armor. Again, it will save you a lot of headache, and foam is not cheap. So once you start doing this first, it's just like with sewing, make your mock-up. Um, there was a time that there was a foam shortage too, and you don't want that. You don't want to have like an unfinished like cosplay or whatever. Um, and risk of not having it finished when you have a deadline. I'm just doing like a simple type of armor today for my event on Saturday. So let me tell you about um, the event this Saturday that I'm going to be actually a cosplay judge in. So Northwest Indiana Comic Con is happening this Saturday, and it's from 11 in the morning until I believe 6 at night, and it's in Crown Point, Indiana. So it's this huge convention. It keeps getting bigger every year, which is awesome. I absolutely love the showrunners, and they always have me like every year. So every year I judge the cosplay contest, which is so much fun. So this year I decided to bring Raven, and it's a bunch of stuff that I created and also a bunch of stuff that I'm going to be making and modifying. So let me do this real quick. All right. And yeah, this is what happens when you're a one woman show. You kind of like tend to have to do everything and all the posting and whatnot. But yeah, so Raven is such an easy cosplay to do. You can buy the materials easily, and then I just want to be extra. Since I'm going to be a cosplay judge, I want to add more details. I want to add a little bit of pizzazz on my costume, just because I'm showing up as a judge. I gotta look like a judge, right? Oh, let me show you this awesome Nerd Forge. If you're not familiar with these folks, Nerd Forge is actually like this duo that's from Denmark. I believe they're from Denmark, but they are basically they create a lot of like cool fantasy stuff. Like they make dioramas, they make armor too, which is pretty cool. They make a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. So they just so happen to be selling a cutting mat, which is pretty cool. I love the color. Purple is my favorite. If you can't tell by how um my workshop is laid out here, it's all mostly purple, down to the stuff that holds the wires together. So really cool self-healing cutting mat. It's brand new, and I want to take care of it. And while I'm doing armor, I'm going to show you how to take care of your cutting mat, because these aren't cheap either. So what I have here on my hand is this long thing here is a blade sharpener. Okay, now it sharpens my blade. So basically you don't want to use or cut foam when you have a dull blade. One, you're going to end up sanding your foam, which is going to it's going to just take too much time. I try to avoid it as much as possible. I mean, HD foam is actually easier to work with and cut, because it's a lot, although it's dense, it is very like soft. It almost like cuts like butter. But you always want to sharpen your blade. And again, I'm thanking my friend Papa Bear Cosplay for this, because he showed me how to do it. So the way how he described how to do this and sharpen your blade is basically you're kind of like slicing cold cuts. Is basically what he was saying. So that's kind of like the best way I can describe it. And of course, I go the other way as well, because it is two-sided. Now, the only way to test, of course, is you get a scrap of foam, slice it and see if that works. So a sharp blade is always a must. I try to go about 2 inches of the blade out and then sharpen it. And the reason why is because for deep cut foam, you're going to need that extra length of your blade to like kind of like use for like armor. All right. So it's a few more passes. Like some people spray it with WD-40, some people spray it with water. I normally spray it with water because I don't want to mess with WD-40 on my stuff, because it actually like kind of like inhibits primer from going through it. I don't think this was sharpened at all. Maybe I did a bad job. Hang on. Let me see. Okay. Now we know that's sharp. It's just cutting that on a weird angle somehow. Ooh, that's sharp. All right. Now, throughout cutting the foam, I actually tend to sharpen this several times while cutting. And that kind of like prevents those rough edges for when you're making armor or like cutting out your armor pieces. Um, Another word of caution for our younger viewers: if you are, I don't even know what age you're supposed to limit kids to play with box cutters here. You have to be really careful, okay? Just if you're one of our younger audiences, please ask an adult to do this for you. It is very dangerous. I am about to order some cutting gloves, which is gloves that you use for when you're cutting like sharps or using sharp stuff, you know, and to prevent from cutting yourself. So I cut that in this really expensive cutting board. Although it's self-healing, so this is something I learned, and I'm gonna link the creator's name from where I learned this from. So basically, if you were, let's grab a piece of paper here. Let's say, for example, um, they call this a self-healing mat because it's actually layers of foam. And if you, I'm scared. I want to like sharpen this a little bit more here. If you use this and you cut it in a couple of days, you'd actually see it kind of like bounce back, and that indentation won't be as prominent as it is. Now, in order to keep your board functioning and like clean, before I'm gonna show you my old one, it's a mess. There's glue in it, there's paint, all this like nasty stuff in here, right? You're not supposed to do that to your cutting board, and I didn't know any better because that's how everyone did it. But you're not supposed to use glue because that will inhibit the fibers from forming back up. You're not supposed to use paint either because of the same reason. So basically, this is kind of what it looks like, right? Your cutting board. So imagine this. Not doing a really good job cutting this cardboard here. So I'm going to use scissors because this is being really stubborn. I did sharpen my thing, but I guess I need to do a better job. Okay. And again, I will link the YouTuber I learned this from. It makes so much sense about the cutting board, all right? So imagine this is your cutting board. This is the surface of your cutting board. The reason why it's self-healing is because it's layers of what do you call this? Layers of plastic, basically, is what it is. So when you use your cutting board, when you have a sharp knife, it will go through the fibers, right? And of course, my knife's not that sharp. But anyway, it will go through the fibers like this, and it will heal back. But if you have something dull, guess what happens? If you have something dull or like thick, this is what happens. This is what happens to your cutting board. It gets smushed. It's not going to bounce back because it's smushed. So that's why it's important that you don't use paint or glue on your cutting board. It's strictly for cutting. And on top of that, always use sharp knife. So I'm going to sharpen my knife again because I wasn't satisfied about that cut. That did not sound good. So I'm going to go on ahead and sharpen it like this. And like Papa Bear taught me, it's like pretty much just like doing cold cuts, right? Like cutting cold cuts. If you're doing the sharpening towards you, just be very careful. Do it with force, but don't do it too hard that you're going to bend the blade and break it. All right, let's grab our foam. Play around with this thing. So again, these are pre-cut patterns I got from Cosplay. Downloaded it, modified it after I taped it together. If you just started watching, that's basically what I do. I do a mock-ups of all of my armor pieces and basically do the mock-up first, put masking tape on them, put them together, and then adjust it to how I want it to look. So I just use for HD foam, since this is gray and it's light, I just use a normal pencil for this. For some odd reason, I can't find my pencil. I only use this Sharpie, which is just fine. And I'm going to trace my pattern. But yeah, Cosplay has these pre-cut um, pre-made patterns that you can buy on her website. Makes it easy, and don't reinvent the wheel. Go and look for patterns out there because it makes your life so much easier. It makes cosplaying less stressful. Now, there are notches on this pattern that comes with it. That way you can line up your foam. I just move it down just a little bit and mark it. And that's going to be my demarcation lines for when I try to put it together or glue them together. So now I am going to do the other side, which is basically I just flip it over. And then I'm going to show you how I do the notches later here once I finish tracing it. So lay your pattern flat, just trace it. Don't be in a hurry because it's not a race. Although I'm kind of trying to work fast. If you have any questions at all about me doing the armor work, please feel free to drop in a comment or type in a comment. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Like what type of glue I use, what type of foam I use, etc., etc. All right, so just trace this back part, right? Now, the notches. I basically just look from here and just kind of flip it slightly. Do this. Okay. I don't really need a lot. It's just a guide to make sure that I'm lining everything up correctly. So, our goal here is to cut this really nice and avoid too much sanding. And as much as possible, to be able to have really nice cuts in here. Let's see. Paranoid, so I'm going to sharpen this some more. If you end up buying your materials for this and have these types of box cutters, it's nice to have one that where it has a lock that the blade locks in, because it's a safety precaution, All right, so let's go with this part first. Now you should try to cut it in a continuous. I'm going to be quiet for a bit here because I want to concentrate and not cut myself while I'm doing this. Yeah, but try to cut it continuously. I do have a little bit of a dent here, but I can sand it down easily. No, not a big deal. All right. Make sure there's nothing underneath here so I can cut it. And here we go. And again, just be careful cutting this stuff. It's not a race. When you're cutting towards you, please do it slowly, because it gets really scary. You don't want that blade flying towards you. It's bad news. All right, now this side here. And again, one continuous smooth pass. You don't have to be in a hurry for that. Just do it nice and smooth. All right. Got this part right here. And this V shape thing in here, this is what makes it curve. All right, so I talked about the cutting board and what not to do with the cutting board, right? And I also talk about how to take care of it because it is expensive. And just use it for its intended use. Now, what should you use instead? What should people use instead of a cutting board when you're painting or you're gluing stuff? Well, I found a lot of crafters, when they do their stuff, is they use a silicone mat. And luckily, silicone mats are heat resistant. And that's what this black surface that you see in here is. That's exactly what it is. Basically, you can use glue in there, paint, and it's just, for the most part, it will peel off. So it's really nice to have. Plus, you don't have to worry about, just making too much of a mess. What I actually do is when I'm done gluing and painting stuff with this silicone mat, this black silicone mat, I just like grab it, um, go to a sink and wash it out with soap and water, and it's clean. So that makes it like so nice. All right, I'm gonna cut this other portion here, and then gonna start applying glue once I'm done cutting all my pieces. So one continuous move again, really nice and smooth with a very, very sharp blade. Okay. I'm feeling that blade give a little bit, so I'm gonna sharpen my tool here. Hi, if you're joining just now, my name is Monica and I'm from Geeks.Gogo.com. I am making armor for my Raven cosplay. So I'm using Kamui Cosplay's pattern, and I'm also kind of like educating people on how to take care of their cutting mat. All right, so one continuous movement. You don't have to be fast. And try not to angle your blade. Try to cut it as straight as possible. Unless you're going for a beveled type like feel there, you don't really need to do anything but just to cut this real nice and slow and have your blade like straight up. So just be very, very careful with those sharp knives as much as possible. You don't want to do a second pass like I just did here, because that creates like really rough edges. This one's not so bad. I'm not too worried about this. It's more about this bigger or longer part that I'm more worried about, because that's what I'm going to glue together with that other one. All right, let's do this. Nice. Very nice and continuous one. And you see how smooth that is? There's no bumps. I don't have to sand it down. I don't have to clean it up in order to glue these two things together. It'll be nice. Oh, I'm going to show you a technique how I glue my foam pieces together, where you can also avoid too much sanding, which is awesome. One of the cool stuff I love about it. So I'm going to put these two pieces aside. I'm actually going to mark this down because this one was for, let me see, the short one is what goes closer to your neck. So I'm going to call this my right shoulder. I'm going to tell you why in just a second here. So right front and a right back. Oh, wait. This is the front. And then this is the back. And this is the underside of the armor. So again, I'm not too concerned about that. But there's a reason why I marked it that, and I'll show you why. So when we trace our other one, then it will be easy for me to identify which one goes to my left shoulder and which one goes to my right shoulder. So one armor piece or one shoulder piece done. I'm going to make another one. Grabbing the same pattern. And save those foam scraps, because if you want to do like detailing, you can easily make some details with those. So I pretty much save up all my scraps because of that reason. All right. Hold your pattern down. You can use a pencil with HD foam, which is awesome. I'm just using this Sharpie right now because this is what's available for me. If you have any questions, hey Yardley, how's it going? Thanks for coming on to the stream. Let me know if you have any questions about making cosplay and stuff. I'm happy to answer them. But yeah, like for now, I'm doing armor. And if you don't mind me, I'm good so far. I'm prepping for my show this Saturday, which is I'm excited, a little nervous, but I'm also excited because I have missed that convention so much. It's kind of like what kicks off our convention year. So Northwest Indiana Comic Con, it's happening at Crown Point, Indiana this Saturday. And yeah, they always invite me to be a cosplay judge every year. I love working with those folks. They really take care of us really well when we come and work during the cosplay contest and whatnot. So it's fun times for sure. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. So, all right, this is my second pattern. And again, make sure your knives are sharp. I'm going to put these guys aside for now so it's not in the way. So make sure you clear your area when you're cutting because that limits making mistakes or like hurting yourself too. You're basically working with a really, really sharp blade. And you're going to see me sharpen my blade numerous times just because that's kind of like what you got to do to avoid having to stand your armor pieces down. You cut it, make sure your blade's not on an angle, and one continuous swoop. There's one. I'll do it for this guy here. You want to go all the way through the foam, but also, there you go. Nice and smooth, like butter. Like butter. All right. Cut this part. This is what makes this armor curvy. All right. But yeah, as safety precaution, definitely get some cutting gloves. When I upload this video on Friday on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the replay, definitely check out the description because I'm going to post links of all the stuff that I used during the stream and all the stuff that I suggested. So check that out for sure. And again, if you're cutting towards yourself, please be careful. Do it slow. You are working with soft material. Even if there's a little bit of resistance, it's still soft material. You could still hurt yourself. All right. Ideally, if you cut this right, this should come off real easily. But I always get the corners not so cut properly. That's okay. It still came out all right, so not to worry about that. This is going to be my left back. And I'm only writing on the underside of it because... Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, my hair took me forever to get to this color because my hair is naturally super black. So it took forever and I did it myself. So it was hard. It was hard to do. Like I had a level 1. So 1 is like the darkest color your hair or anyone's hair ever could have. And it basically took me 5 bleaches to get to this color. It was nuts. And then, of course, I had to tone it because when your hair's that dark, you're always going to end up with something very orange because of how dark it is. That's all the pigment from your hair. So you have to tone it. I love your hair. Your hair is very, very beautiful. Light colored, kind of like almost like a, not chestnut, but you have kind of like that nice, like, brown, golden brown kind of like color of hair. I really like that color. It just doesn't go with my skin tone though. Oh, thank you so much. I'm sure there's flaws in the back somewhere, but you'll see it when I have my hair up. I'm sure. All right, so my shoulder pauldrons are done, and again, don't throw away your foam scraps. You can still use that for later. I just tend to cut this up so it's a lot easier to put away. I'll put that aside because I can use that for detailing. All right. Oh, I forgot to mark this. The underside, this is going to be left front. All right. Onwards to, I have like my knee pattern here somewhere. I think it fell. Here it is. Now this one's part of the Kamui cosplay patterns as well. But this time around, I actually made this smaller. The PDF files that they provide when you buy the patterns, they're supposed to be set to size, but if you don't modify it, it's going to be like a huge it's going to look like a huge pattern. And since I'm not going for chunky look right now, I had to like scale it down. And this is where like the cardboard, like these cardboard sheets, they're like $1 from the dollar store. So like big sheet, like I made like several mock-ups out of it, which is awesome. So once I'm done tracing all of this stuff in foam, I'm actually gonna save this mock-up that I have here, and I can use the same because it's technically is the same, pretty much the same thing. I'm saving this and I'm keeping them in an envelope and labeling it Raven just so that I know that I use this for this particular cosplay. So that's another tip. That way you don't have to like keep remaking stuff. Like if you really end up liking this pattern, then you can just reuse it. I also get like that kind of like a 3-ring binder organizer from Dollar Tree, and then they have these like plastic inserts where you can put pages in, like a plastic protector. And I'm gonna make 4 copies of this because this is for my 2 knees. But yeah, it's like so much easier. Like if you end up liking this pattern, you can reuse it for so many stuff, so much stuff. You save yourself some time too by doing this. So you have a readily available pattern, and you don't have to, once again, like reinvent the wheel. You don't have to like go back from scratch making stuff. All right, this knee portion is traced out. Hey, if you're just joining just now, my name's Monica from geeks.gogo.com. I am making a pattern for my Raven cosplay. All right, so once again, I'm gonna sharpen my blade because, you know, like I said earlier, I want to take care of this super expensive Nerd Forge. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I know I keep mentioning that it's from Nerd Forge. I bought it from them. It's not cheap. It is so pretty, but this is how you take care of your cutting mat. But yeah, if you have any questions at all about my build, feel free to like drop it on the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But yeah, try to cut in one continuous slice. That way you avoid like rough edges. Now, since that's our outer edge, I'm not too worried about. It's the inner edge that I'm more worried about because that's the side that you're going to glue together with the other one. All right. Like butter. Cut down. Make sure you cut all the way down and just one continuous Slice. All right. Yes, we are going. Definitely. I don't know how many days we are going to GaryCon, but yeah, we'll definitely post about it. It's kind of like a little bit up in the air right now because of my health issues, so we'll find out. I think the week before, but we're planning on it for sure. Definitely planning on it. So here's another continuous cut right here. And then I'm going to do this side. Cut it slow and carefully. All right. I was going to say that was easy. It was like, yeah, it's all right. It's easy, but it's not. But, you know how it goes. Oh, there's a little chunk in there. All right. Save that small piece. When do I not save small pieces? Like, as much as possible, I keep them for a lot of reasons. Details. If they're less than an inch, sometimes I still keep them. If I want to make tiny details like teeth or, you know, like some random stuff. All right. Thank you for being patient watching me cut foam. Cutting foam's not a joke. It's you gotta make sure you keep safe while doing this. Long continuous curve. All right. That looks nice. Whew. The pressure. Cutting foam live. Yep, feel free to ask any questions about cosplay, my future builds, sewing, 3D printing, electronics, you name it. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on this year that I'm hoping Tuesdays will be the day that I will stream regularly. Let's see. Any suggestions for a pattern for a very full skirt? I want to do a version of bow set. So I love full skirts. I absolutely love it. You know, my go-to resource for that to help with measurements is if you go to moodfabrics.com. I'm going to type it in chat real quick here. Let's see here. So go to Mood Fabrics. They actually have a skirt calculator. And what it does is basically you measure your waist measurement, your length, and then you type it in their website. They have a converter there, and you can pick what look of skirt you want. So if you want a full skirt, an A-line, a pencil cut, etc., you'll be able to find it there. And I've used that thing so many times just to create skirts. Normally with full skirt, it's just an actual circle. So when I get my fabric, I get like around somewhere around 55 to 60 whatever inches and fold it into a square. And then I cut kind of like a quarter of a circle. What do you call it? I don't know. But yeah, I cut it that, and then for the waist, for the outer part or for the skirt part, and then for the waist part, I measure my waist and divide it by 4, and then I use my basically if this was the fabric, right? After I measure my waist, I pin my, let's say it's like this. Let's do like this. If it was, let's say a quarter of your waist was 5 inches, for example, you basically pin that 5, or you put an allowance like 6. No, sorry. You scale back depending on how much allowance you want to put for stitching. So 4 inches, because you can always scale back instead of like cutting too much. And then you pin that on that corner of where you folded the fabric, and you pretty much just do this, kind of like do a fan or make a fan. You cut that circle out, and then when you spread out your fabric, you already see like a full circle with the middle part like cut out already for you. So you can just attach like a garter um with like a 1 inch band or however you like it, and that's pretty much how to make that full skirt. I can do a tutorial on that too if that's something you think you would like. I love making full skirts. They're just so much comfy to wear. All right, I did those pieces. I'm gonna do the thigh piece, and then after I do this piece, then I'm going to go and start gluing these together. But yeah, keep those questions coming. All right, so Norma cut the foam dead. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that question means. But anyway, I only need one piece of this pattern. Basically, I cut 2 pieces of the same pattern, just to mirror it. And I just need this one piece to create my thigh armor. So, I'm gonna do some fun stuff with this. I'm excited. After we glue this together, I want to do all these like cool designs that I've been wanting to do. Who knows? I might end up not using feathers after this. Like I'll just like use the foam clay and use these like fake skulls and call it a day. So we'll see. We'll see what I get inspired to create today. The cleaner your cuts, the easier it is to glue stuff together, which is awesome. So keep that in mind. That avoids you from having to sand it down, and also from having to um, just do all this extra work that you could have avoided in the first place. I'm a fan of just like not having to have additional work done when I'm making stuff. And with anything in general, if it's something avoidable, then don't do it. It's not really a shortcut. It's more like a efficient way of doing things, basically. Let's see here. Yeah, just keep those questions coming if you have any more questions. Trace the stuff. All right, ready to cut. But first, I sharpen my knife. All right, let's see here. This is how I sharpen my knife. I can add links to this on the replay on the YouTube channel, like later on this week. That way you'll know where to buy this blade sharpening contraption and all the other stuff that I use in this make. So let's start on this side here. One continuous swoop. And don't be scared about pressing hard on this cutting mat, because that's what it's for. All right. Almost perfect. Dang it. Those edges. I swear to God. All right. It's one. I'm going to move this guy down a little bit here. And again, cut that foam slow and steady. It's not a race. Be careful when you do it. All right. Okay. Well, you said it, Yardley. I'm definitely going to do a tutorial for that. It is so much fun to make. And petticoats. There's a lot of ways to make petticoats where it's not too complicated. So yeah, I would love to make that tutorial. So yeah, definitely adding that to my list of videos to do for this year. I'm a fan of making stuff easily. You know, like, oh, here's another way of doing that full skirt too. If you already have a full skirt that you have at home, right? And you like the look and feel of it, you can actually drape fabric, which I think is a little bit more complicated compared to just cutting the fabric into a big circle. But yeah, you can try to look for a skirt that you already like that's similar to what you want and drape the fabric. And then stitch that fabric together, and there you go. Well, another route too is, you know, if you just go to Amazon or like a website, find a full skirt, and you can actually, if you want to personalize it to make it look like bauset, right? I think you were trying to go with bauset. Um, you can use like a cutting machine, or you can actually just draw something out of heat on heat transfer vinyl, like mushrooms or whatever details you want, and cut them out with like scissors like this. Where's like my fine scissors here? I have like these scissors that are really, really small, and they have like this um really nice thin blade that can actually go through corners really nice and precisely. And yeah, you just do that, and then iron your design onto the fabric, and you're all set. Or look for like pre-made patches online too. That's for like if you don't want to deal with the whole sewing part, you can definitely do that. It's so much easier. Like for the Raven, the cape that I'm going to be wearing for Raven, I'm basically just adding a trim on a cape that I already bought. And then basically I'm just going to add some embellishments just to make it look nice. It's nice and easy, quick cosplay. This part, not so quick, but that's all right. I should have known better with these edges here. Like, can always go a little bit over that trace line when you're cutting through it, so you'll have cleaner edges. I always forget. There you go. Cut these into smaller pieces so that I can store them for later. And again, I'm going to add this for details. All right. So I got that part of the armor done. Keep your questions coming. I am happy to answer anything. Now, these streams are going to happen every Tuesday now. So if you have a cosplay question, I'm going to be online on Twitch every Tuesday, 7:30 to normally 8:30. But since there's a lot more people with questions today and are watching, I'm going to extend it a little bit more tonight, just in case, if there's any questions that you would like to ask me or whatever. Now, this is the fun part. So, oh, cool. Yeah, I hope you learned something from this. And if you have any specific questions about doing your bow set armor, definitely like just ping me or whatever or message me. Um, and another thing that I wanted to do in the future, if there's a particular armor that you want to build and I end up wanting to build as well, we can build it together so we can learn together how to make it. I always like doing stuff like that. It's just so much fun. All right, so now this next part that I'm going to be doing, I don't like these dirty edges, but that's okay. I'm going to glue this stuff together. First thing I do is I inspect the sides that I'm going to glue together and see if there's anything that I need to fix before I start gluing this stuff down. Um, Again, you want your surfaces to be nice and smooth so they can adhere to each other before you apply glue into them. I'm going to put this aside because we don't want glue on your cutting board. That's so expensive AF. All right, just put that aside. Make sure your area is clean as well before you get started. Oh, cool. Yeah, the foam clay, there's so much you can do with it, so I'm really excited, and I'm excited to use it tonight too. So yeah, make sure your foam's clean, smooth. Like sometimes there'll be like holes in there. That's okay, as long as the overall surface of what you're gluing down together is smooth and clean, then you're all set. You should be fine. I'm going to show you a technique that I do when I glue this stuff together, because it really, for the most part, it will limit you from having to sand it down. And for the most part, they're always like lined up with each other perfectly, that you don't have to sand it or put fillers just to get rid of that line. So I hope I don't embarrass myself tonight and that becomes successful. So we'll see here in a bit. So yeah, this one I gotta inspect the V section. That's kind of rough in there a little bit. I'm gonna grab my scissors and try to like cut a little bit of that as much as possible. It's just a few rough edges in there. And that's another thing I wanted to discuss as well. We're so wrapped up or so used to, I shouldn't say wrapped up, I'm sorry. We're so used to using the blade for cutting foam. Sometimes you can actually just cut foam with scissors, and it's actually a little safer and easier to use. For this thickness, though, I wouldn't necessarily use scissors. I just use it for like corners that I don't like so much. Like if there's like a rough edge that I can easily just cut out, like that's when I use it for. Like in this, for instance, there's just a little bit sticking out. Just cut it out. It's not a big deal, you know? I'm gonna check this edge. This one has a little bit of that thing sticking out. This is what causes your edges to be like all like bumpy, is when you have like that piece of foam at the tip of that triangle, or that side, and it's not sliced properly. So you just kind of like just cut it out. The smaller the scissors, or like the narrower your blades are, the better, so you can really like hit those corners really well. All right, last two. Yep. Feel free to ask anything else if there's something you want to ask about making armor and whatnot. You can find my builds on our website, geeksagogo.com. I have a lot of like builds there where I actually go step by step on how I made each one of them and what kind of materials I use, what kind of inspiration I have. But it's mostly for my competition pieces. But yeah, if there's any other questions you have, please feel free to just type it in chat for sure. All right, pretty satisfied with this so far. But yeah, sometimes scissors just does the trick. You know, you don't really have to keep using blade. Not the vampire, like the cutting blade, I mean. Wah, wah. Okay, anyway. I'm going to clean my work area here. And like I said, you know, this year is going to be the year of only using the cutting board for cutting stuff. No more of that using it for glue and painting nonsense. This is what this black surface is for now. This is my gluing and painting surface now. I just have this like ginormous like bristle brush that I use to clean my area. I also have a hand broom in there, but I like this better. It kind of like gets most of the tiny stuff, like hair from my dogs, stuff like that. Stuff that I had from sanding the other day. I don't know if you guys can see, but over here I actually do have a fan that vents out fumes. I'm gonna get started with gluing this stuff, and I'm using everyone's favorite barge. So there's so many people using all these different contraptions to glue their foam. I've tried them all. This stuff just dries up so fast that, yeah, I'm having a hard time opening this. So I might have to call the husband to open this. Oh yes, please. Like definitely. Like if there's anything you don't find in my website and you still have questions about, just feel free to ping me or ask me about it. Oh, here comes my muscle. Yay! Husband to the rescue. We like some strong man. I have 3 other cans there that can be opened if that doesn't work.
Wow.
It's really like it's really glued in there. Barge and I have a love-hate relationship because it comes in handy when you're doing stuff like this, but at the same time it's like, yeah, when it's in the mood it's will open easily, and Bill's getting it. Hopefully. If not, I do have other cans over there. He'll be right back. All right, anyway, I'm gonna go on ahead and kind of just check this out. Oh yeah, because we are gonna do some fun stuff today. Let me get some carving tools. So while he's doing that, here's some cool stuff that I want to do for tonight. I have a fully stocked cosplay room or craft room. And luckily, because I do have a lot of stuff that's coming up here, I'm so excited to show everyone. You just move this stuff aside. While he's grabbing that, I'm going to grab my carving tools. So, all right, he's back and he opened it. Yay! Thank you. Awesome. Carving tools. I want to add some patterns for making this stuff. So let's see what we got here. Okay. So when you heat foam and you have leather stamping tools, you actually create a lot of cool patterns that way. So I do have a lot of like really cool patterns in here that I want to play with today. Okay, that's a blade. I have a mallet. I'm gonna leave that out. I do need that. I have a wooden mallet. Show you something. Okay, I put all my carving materials in one spot, all my glue in one spot, so on and so forth. Yeah, I don't need any of that. Nope, I don't need an owl. Just all the stamping stuff. This might have its own separate toolbox soon, just so that I can get to it easier next time. Alright, I think that's it. I got all these like cool patterns in here. Basically, the idea is when you heat foam, you can actually press these things into foam and it will create a pattern, which is so cool. So, did I cut myself? No. 'Tis but a scratch. Alright, let's move on. Okay, so safety gear is very important. I'm gonna close the door just so that I can keep the fumes inside this room because I don't want this spreading all over the house. I don't want my dogs getting these fumes. I don't want it in my bedroom, whatever. So, what is a trick to adding um, glue? This one's kind of a rough edge here. I might have to sand this down. So this is going to be put aside for now. I'm going to focus on the ones with clean edges. I didn't notice that earlier. I don't know why. This one's clean. All right. So the ones with no rough edges are good to go. So before I open this thing, grab your mask. And again, I'm going to link to this once I upload the stuff on YouTube. And yes, if you want to ask, it is going to be an affiliate link. If you want to show your support for my website and for what I do, feel free to use that link at no cost to you. When you buy items from that link, I get a percentage of that as a commission, kind of like a commission or referral code. But yeah, you're not obligated to do it, but if you want to show your support, that's one way of doing it. So I like this one. Make sure it's really snug when you put it on because you don't want to inhale this stuff. It's bad for you. All right. So, oh, yeah. By the way, since you probably won't be hearing me talk because of this mask, so I'm using a silicone spatula. Glue doesn't stick to this thing, so I like using it for spreading my glue on foam surfaces or any surface that needs it. And it just gives us this nice, consistent application. You want to make sure you have enough glue, but you don't want your glue to be too much, and you don't want it to be too thin. Just the right amount, okay? Oh, hey, Tin Lizzie. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna take my mask off real quick here. My hair's a mess now. But anyway, I'm just gonna show you how I glue this stuff together. So when you touch the glue and it feels dry but still tacky, all right, this is my back side, right? This is my front side. This is how I glue my stuff. That way I don't have to fill in those gaps all the time. So I kind of just try to push those edges together like this. And you push them like firmly. And there you have it. So once that's done, when you pop that part out, it's almost always perfect. Like you can still see a little bit of a line there, but that's okay. But that's kind of like how I do it. Like this is, I can even just, when I heat this foam up, I can smooth this with my finger and that dent will actually go down. Okay, so I'm going to do that with this other one. Basically, start with the edges first. If you can see it here, let me try to position it in such a way where you can see me actually doing this. So another trick is make sure your glue doesn't have any lumps in them. It's nice even coats work out real well. And again, I'm pressing really hard and firm so that locks in place. If you have bumpy glue or like bumps in your glue and they're not attached evenly or spread out evenly in there, you're going to have like those holes that you need to like fill out. All right, so once you're done doing that, then I'm going to put these middle parts together. If you do end up with bumps, that's okay. You know, you can always fill up those holes. Not a big deal. Now with this is kind of tricky, okay? Because it's curvy in a lot of like different spots. I'm gonna try to do the part that's a little bit more raised. Let's see. Hopefully this works. And again, work slow. It's not a race. Unless you're con crunching. I definitely do not recommend con crunching though. Get enough sleep. Because if you get enough sleep, you'll have so much more fun at a convention. All right. And slowly work your way to the other end with that. What's nice about this type of glue is once it's stuck forever and it's hard to like pry apart. And I just do that. Yep, I did. Okay. I was able to save it, thank God. These curvy armors always kind of a tough one to do because they have these like weird angles that you have to do to glue them together. But there you have it. Then you just go back and kind of just do this. Make sure all the surfaces are like glued together. There you go. And then you're going to do next is blast this with some heat and shape it the way you want it. So there you go. There's an arm pauldron for you. I'm like trying to trying to put this on screen. So that's kind of like what it looks like. This arm pauldron that I made. So yeah. So I'm gonna put this aside and I'm gonna glue this other. Oh no. All right. So let's see. I'm gonna try to glue like this. Actually, which one's the cleaner edge? I think this one's the cleaner edge, even if it's curved like all differently from the other side. So I let those ends touch first. But yeah, normally keep your mask on, please. When you're handling this stuff and you still smell fumes. All right, press it down. There you go. See? Nice. Nice and clean. You can barely see the edges. Yeah. So yeah, keep those questions coming. If you have any more questions about this build, feel free to just type it in the comment section. But yeah, I'm excited for this armor. I want to make this armor. So Raven for me as a character is very goth, and I want to incorporate a lot of very goth looking like stuff on this build. So a lot of skulls, a lot of what do you call this? Feathers, hopefully. Some occultish kind of like symbols and stuff like that. Because she is a daughter of a demon, so not just any demon, one of the strongest demons from hell, I believe. So yeah, this is how I make those clean seams. So I line those two up, those two ends up, press on it firmly. And again, do it slow, you don't be in a hurry. There you go. Admittedly, the other one is a lot cleaner than this one, but that's okay. Still looks good. All right, so I'm gonna take out this tool that I have that's called a tailor's ham, and I just bought this because I don't know where the other one that I had went. I don't know if it accidentally got into a box that went to Goodwill or what. But I actually loved my old tailor's ham better because it was a lot larger. But for this armor, I think this size would work very well. So normally this is used for sewing. I try not to mix my sewing and my armor stuff, just because keeps your stuff clean. But yeah, with HD foam, sometimes you don't really have to heat it up. You can just like go to town with it, shaping it, which is really nice. And since I don't want to use my knees or any of my body parts on shaping this stuff, I just kind of just like mold it in here. And there you go. You have a knee cover. And again, the pattern is from Kamui Cosplay that I modified to fit me better. So this is that part there. I'm going to do this one because it has this really nice curve that I can just press my material into. You can also use a ball. Like I've used balls before, like different sizes. and then I've used acrylic globes or acrylic like domes. But you need to be very careful what type of acrylic domes you use because some can be very rigid, not rigid, but it's like more it's softer, it breaks easier, so be careful when you're pressing down your foam to it. There's that piece. I got my two knee guards in here. Let's see. The reason why I only have the knee guards and I don't have any shin guards is because I actually. Oh, he found it! Where did you find this? Heck yes! There's my old ham. What a ham. Look at this. Look at the size comparison of this, alright? This is small and chunky, like me, and this is my pastel looking one. Cool. Bill found it. He hangs out more downstairs than me, so he knows where stuff is. Very cool. I'm so happy I found that. I've been looking all over for it. This is a reminder for you to hydrate. If you've been watching, please hydrate. Alright, I'm going to continue on gluing this stuff. But yeah, please feel free to type in any questions or whatever. I'm going to keep working. And just let me know if there's something I can answer for you. Let me grab my trusty respirator here. I was sanding stuff the other day, and I think there's a bit of remnants still left in here from it. So, yeah, that's not good. So, let me do this. Right. Make sure this actually fits well. I mean, this fan is working really well, venting the area, but make sure, especially if you're in the Midwest like us, definitely like wear a respirator when you're using this glue indoors. It's not intended to be inhaled. Please do safety first. And yeah, All right. That was nice and clean out, wasn't it? Really nice and clean. Like this one. You can barely see the seams on it. It's pretty cool. I love it when that happens. Now, I'm going to go on ahead and sand some of these pieces. I do have one shoulder pauldron left here that I need to sand. Let me just fix this guy real quick here. This one like kind of like prematurely like stuck together while I was like working on one end, so this might have to be sanded down as well. That's all right. Nothing nothing like a little heat or like Dremel can do to fix this, so not too worried about that at all. Plus its parts gonna be covered anyway. I'm not too again not too worried about it. So let me see. I think the only thing I really need to sand is this part because this one looks really nice and smooth. So let me do a quick sanding here real quick. Now for this, I want to use the smaller one. So I use a stone grit attachment to smooth out my pieces. If I want something a little bit more beveled, or if I want to like cut out a huge chunk of material out of it, then I use the sanding grit. So those are the only two grits I work with. You know, a lot of people have all their different preferences. I just use the two. I keep it simple. Again, safety first. I got my goggles. Gotta wear that. Make sure it's nice and tight. Oh, wait. I gotta wear this thing first. All right. And before I attach that, make sure it's nice and tight so you don't get anything in your eyes while you're sanding. And then adjust your mask accordingly. All right. Whew. Wow. All right, so I fixed and I sanded that other part. That's the only part that I need to glue right now before we move on and put embellishments on the foam. I think I can do that for the next 9 minutes here, which is awesome. So here's what I'm gonna do. You know what? I'll glue this off air. I really want to work on embellishing this stuff so I can show you what cool stuff you can do with the stamping. So let me do that. I'm gonna grab my heat gun. Again, you're gonna have to wear the respirator when you're using your heat gun. Safety first. Definitely, definitely practice that. Let me see what we have here. We have a lot of cool shapes. I really like this moon kind of like embellishment thing going on. There's this that looks like a tip of a lace. There's like a teardrop shaped one, etc., etc. We're gonna play around with shapes today with those. So let's see, where is? Gonna have to unplug my Dremel to use this. All right, so you don't want to inhale the fumes from the foam either when it's being heated. And HD foam has a low like heat level, I guess is the best way to like describe it. So yeah, it only takes a little bit to heat it up. So let's go on ahead and do that. Let's see here. Okay. So it looks like I don't even have to heat this up at all. Like I can just like go to town and just hammer this in, which is pretty cool. So what's going to happen is since that's the case and I don't really need to heat up the foam, you still need to heat up your foam to heat seal it. And what that means is when you heat seal your foam, you basically close up the pores of your foam. Since foam is very porous, they tend to absorb a lot of like moisture, and if you're putting your primer on there, the foam just soaks it in. So in order for you to be able to avoid that, you basically like put a touch of heat onto your foam material, and then that will take care of it for the most part. So just do some circular motions when you're doing this, and that way you're not burning the foam and it won't create bubbles. This is also a good opportunity to grab your ham. These are built for heat or standing heat, so definitely, just grab it and form your shape that you want. Wait for it to cool down. And that's how you do your foam armor. But yeah, definitely do that one more time here. Heat it in circular motion so you're not just concentrating on one area and you're heating your foam evenly. Okay. And press it down to your ham like so. That way, look how nice this shape is for the shoulder pauldron. But yeah, definitely wait for it to cool down some. Hold it in place. And sometimes it takes several tries, depending on the type of foam that you're using and the thickness of it, plays a huge portion of how this dries up easily. And sometimes, it just doesn't really click quick like how this is. So anyway, it is 9:30. I appreciate everyone who watched today's broadcast. I'm really excited to keep doing these Tuesday Twitch streams. So definitely, if you have more questions about everything that I did today during the stream, please hit me up on all of the social media handles. Keep those questions coming. I am so happy to help out as much as I can if you have any questions. And then if there's not, like, I'll ask some of my friends who are also experts in the field on how to do whatever it is that you ask of. So yeah, I really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching my stream. And yeah, the replay for the entire thing should be up on the YouTube channel this Friday, and I'll include all of the links of the materials that I used today. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm Monica from geeksagogo.com. Good night, everyone, and thank you. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.